This is where the fun begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I decided to do a impromptu live. So the word's getting out right now. I barely got this done within a half an hour. I was like, I'm going to talk about a possible remake of Star Wars. And I've talked about this many times before, and I thought it would be a perfect time to talk about it again. Because as you can see, maybe on your social media, you might be seeing like quote unquote pop culture journal pages sharing that content that's being created or coming out of Disney Lucasfilm is a remake of the Star Wars, the OT, or particularly Star Wars A New Hope. So I just wanted to address that and see what you guys think, what you have been thinking since the buyout. Since George Lucas's treatments were tossed, the EU was tossed, and the statement of Disney wanting to do their own thing with Star Wars, making their own content, all of that, for now what they own, Lucasfilm. Now, Lucasfilm basically is not just Star Wars. We know that already. You know, it has Lucasfilm has created so many different films, including, the Indiana Jones. And there are many other films that Lucasfilm has been involved in, whether licensing out ILM. And so there's so much under the belt of Lucasfilm. But what has kept Lucasfilm alive is Star Wars. I would like to say Indiana Jones too, but I think Star Wars is the thing that really got Lucasfilm off and running. But hey, that could be just me. I like Indiana Jones, but I'm more biased towards Star Wars. So hello, and thank you guys for hopping on. Like I said, this is an impromptu one. The San Diego Comic-Con is going on right now, and I wish I could have been down there and been on the floor, having a Gatekeepers Alliance member on the floor to talk and to discuss everything that's going on, and maybe next year. So, but what's crazy is that just hearing from people there, Lucasfilm, Star Wars never got one of the bigger conference rooms, bigger rooms there, which I think is another downfall to the franchise. Because, for it being such a phenomenon, such an impact, what George created through the movies, through the EU, through everything, through all the properties under Lucasfilm for Star Wars, it's not as big as it used to be. And so when you see at Comic Cons where Star Wars is not given one of the biggest rooms and can't fill it up, there's something wrong with that. There's something truly wrong with that. Now, I did watch Purist's Rumble today or earlier today. And I think I'm not sure if he's going live or not. I had to jump off because I take care of some stuff. So I have to go back and rewatch where I left off at. But he was reporting, watching the Shill's response to the reporting going on from the San Diego Comic-Con. So if you haven't had a chance to get over there on Rumble, do it. Go watch. Go support our local Gatekeepers Alliance here. So let's see who's hopping on here. We have Conrado. How are you doing? It's morning there in the Philippines, huh? All right. We have Backseater. How are you doing? CJ, how are you doing? Wolf Scar. And Soul Assassin Mod is here. Saturday. I know. It's an impromptu one. Hey, I'm here. Want to talk. How are you guys doing? Nazo is here. And it says, to be honest, we always knew they were going to remake the trilogy. I just thought they would do it after Lucas has passed. CJ says a remake would suck. It would be Filoni-fied. Wow, yeah. Double A, yes. And that's one clip I have not put on my clips here is that. Yes. But let's see here. Who else is in? We have Derek. And yeah, so people are starting to hop on. I did this so impromptu. I didn't tell anybody else that I was doing this. I just sprung it on. I just made it, and here we are. So here we are. So one thing I want to share before we get into the topic I wanted to discuss is Soul Assassin shared this with me, and this is about one of the most popular, beloved characters that is from the EU. So let me see here. Okay, it's sharing. All right. So brace yourselves, ladies and gents. Now, he's already on his quote unquote Wikipedia page. There's already a Disney quote unquote canon page for him versus legend for him. And I think it's because he was in some card game or whatever that was published after the buyout, and they just kept it as quote unquote their canon. So he was in there. So he already has that page. But this is here, and I didn't go check to see any sources. So take this with a grain of salt, even though he does have his own Disney lore page on Wikipedia. Breaking, Lucasfilm Publishing editor confirms the return of Kyle Katarn in the canon timeline from Darth Internius. Source Darth Internius. So let's see here. And so that's what's being reported. I will have more on this. I'm looking into more on this, and we could talk about this next Friday after I return from being gone. So if anybody else has anything that they could share on this, or if we look further into this, feel free to share with me. You can DM me, or if you're on my Discord, feel free to share it there. But that's what they're saying. He is returning to the canon timeline, I guess you can say. Kyle Katarn. So what do you guys think about that bit of news? What do you think about that bit of news? And SWA's here too. I think I've seen that. And Cannibal the Dragon is here. We have Crouching Tyler Hidden Swift here. Hello. What's the point of Kyle Katarn in canon? Or you mean in Disney? Star Wars, I thought Andor losers got the Death Star plans, right? I mean, I've said this many times before. They can put a character in and still call him by the original name. It's not them. It's not them. It's just a shell of them. Everything about the character that everybody loves does not apply in Disney version. So that means it's not the true character. Not the true character. So I thought I'd share that with you. Now, like I said, there is like a card game that he was in, and so that's why he has his quote-unquote Disney lore page or Disney canon page. Let's see here. And bringing Kyle Katarn in is a sign of desperation on Lucasfilm. They already have their Kanan and Andor who ripoffs of Kyle, correct? I'm not surprised if it's true. Yep, I agree. Me neither. With this like Revan figure coming out and other figures, like even the past Mara Jade ones that came out under Disney, it's just to get quick money, quick response. See, we're gonna dangle a bone. We're gonna dangle you a bone here. You should be happy. You should be glad. We're giving you what you want. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. I can't see how Leia finds her crystal, guys. And let's see here. Holy crap! I thought it was on Rumble Stream. Is it not airing on Rumble Stream? I put this up on Rumble. Is it not showing? Let me see here. Let me see, because I thought I set it up for Rumble. Are you just shitting me? Are you just shitting me? Oh no, I'm live. Okay, let me see. Because I am live. There we go. Yeah, so we have SW there, A there, and Soul Assassin. All right. So you scared me there. All right. And let's see, anybody else here? All right, so I wanted to share that. So thank you, Soul Assassin, for sharing this news with me. He's always good at finding things if I don't find them first and bringing them to my attention. And anybody else here, if you find or see something that I haven't posted and you're like, oh crap, I wonder if Laura knows about this, send it to me. There's times I'm on the game and I find things and I share right away. And then there's times my life gets busy and then I'm finding out after the fact. So feel free to DM me or whatever and share any upcoming news and stuff like that. Oh, you thought it was on exclusive Rumble show, not YouTube. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Give us something that the EU already has. All right. So I just wanted to share this with you. Keep an eye on exactly what that is, and we'll go from there. Oh God, I'm feeling so silly right now. Bit sarcastic, silly. So there's no source to that. Oh no, what am I ever gonna do? Find the source. Oh no, oh geez, a fraud. There you go. All right, I didn't grab water. Shit, I don't have water with me. I just rushed in here real quick. So, Kyle Katarn. We've already had a chance with channel members to do a Kyle Katarn. We did not Kyle Katarn. We did Dark Forces watch or listen party on the channel, and that was hella fun. What are your favorite moments before we move on to the next topic and the main topic? You know, because any chance I have a chance, any chance I have time, any chance I have a chance, any chance I have a time to talk lore and nerd out with you guys, I will take it. So with that being said, what is your favorite Kyle Katarn moment? It could be in the novellas, the trilogy of novellas. It could be in the games. It could be in later content, like maybe in New Jedi Order or Legacy of the Force or Fate of the Jedi or something like that, or even the comics. What are your favorites? What is, not are, unless you have a few of them, but what is your favorite Kyle Katarn moment? Only Katarn game I played so far is Jedi Outcast. It was pretty fun. Nice. I'm no Jedi, just a guy with a lightsaber and a few questions. Using Kyle Katarn equals member berry bait, correct? By remake, you mean crappy Disney Plus show? Kyle's fight with D-San. Okay. That's Backseaters. Anybody else want to share? All right. So I wish, do I have it? I need to get a clips. I need to get clips on here for Kyle Katarn. There's a lot of clips I just need to get on here. I do. But yeah. Let's see here. But I don't have any. I don't have none. No. Okay. All right. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Let me see what you guys are saying. Disney already have 3 Katarn knockoffs with Kanan and Andor. Yeah. All right, and Butt Books, what's up? Just passing by to say hello. How are we all doing? We are doing good. We are talking about maybe, well, I want to say maybe. We're talking about the rumored remake of Star Wars that's going on right now through other media. And I've been talking about this for a long time. Now, I'm not saying that this is total remake and they're doing it right now today or anything like that. That's not exactly what I'm saying. But when you look at all the evidence of what's going on and how they're retelling the stories. And within the retelling, they're adding in a little bit of their own characters or their own events here and there. If you go back and look, that right there is, what they would say is revisionist history, right? So revisionist history basically is a form of changing the history up to how it is viewed and perceived by people, right? And we're not talking about real life here. We're talking about the franchise. We're talking about Star Wars here. And that has been from the get-go. And the tossing of the EU is a clear distinction of that, because they wanted to tell, even Iger has said, they wanted to tell their own story, not anything that has already been said. And that when that was all going on back in the buyout and everything changing, do you think that they had the intention of honoring the 6 movies that they kept? Because we know for a fact that they didn't honor TCW. I'm being fucking for real, you guys. I'm gonna put my screen here. I'm being for real. Now, TCW is something that is, very much lore breaking when it comes to the movies and the surrounding lore, and even to itself. This right here seems like it was just a loosely, I wouldn't say loosely, because that's I wouldn't say it's loosely written, but there wasn't much care when writing it. They wanted to tell the stories they wanted to tell for young audience in a cartoon way. Think about it. When you look at Clone Wars 03, yes, they were at first a commercial type, I guess you could say, commercial type cartoon, I guess you could say, stylized cartoon, which became a hit. And so that's where that flourished. That's where Clone Wars started flourishing, as in the concept of telling a bigger, broader story during that time. And George Lucas was very impressed that he wanted it to be tied into Revenge of the Sith. And getting back to TCW, when it got canceled, because Cartoon Network was a big rival to Disney, so that wasn't going to stay put, as in contract wise and stuff. So when it got canceled, and finally when it got when they could pick it back up, they didn't honor what was done during the cancellation. They rewritten and retold from what they didn't show for season 6 and season 7. And this has already been talked about many times. So this has already been talked about. And, even like I would say, Ryan Kennel has broke down the changes. So they haven't honored really anything that, what George may have contributed for TCW for those seasons, right? So where are we gonna think that they're gonna honor the 6 movies? Where are we gonna see how's that even plausible? Right? They couldn't even keep true to what they were gonna tell in the stories that were quote unquote already done and just needed to be finished, for produce wise, I guess you could say, to be put on screen or TV or whatever. So where in hell are they going to honor the 6 movies? The 6 movies. And thank you, SWA, for the 1 subscription on the channel, on the Rumble. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You are amazing. Now, like I said, I just spontaneously just said, oh, I'm gonna do a live, and here we are. So this wasn't planned whatsoever. So thank you so much. Let's see here. Did he come here? I didn't see. So that's my point here. We need a George Lucas cut of TCW. That's interesting because I wonder what it would be. Because George doesn't have writing credits. He approved, just like he approved the EU, right? So with that being said, I'm going to share some things here. Let me see here. Make sure I have the right things up first. Now I'm sharing two sources. I'm going to share two sources. We're just going to get through them because the point here is they're saying that the story is a remake of Star Wars. And because the 50th anniversary is coming up. So let's see here. Which one do I want to share? We'll share this one first. Okay. All right. Now, mind you, these are, shitty ass, quote unquote, pop culture sites that I would use for cringe factor. So, but when you go on Twitter, Polygon has retweeted that they're doing a remake. So this is where the topic is coming up. This is where my topic here is coming up. A remake of the OT. And I've in the chat and have told me that, and even the guys from the Gatekeepers Alliance from our group there, our small little group, that the possibility of this remake would be when George Lucas is gone. But what if it's not really? What if the remake is through their own, just like I said, revisionist history? As long as they have the person who's reading, consuming the books, the comics, the games, or what have you, that's telling the story directly to reference the OT or the PT, and it's being told in a way that makes a person think differently than what George intended, that is revisionist history. Like I said, that is basically a soft reboot. My phone gave me that notification for that news. I read like 5 seconds and tossed it aside. I don't blame you, Bunce. I don't. It's funny how these people behind TCW and Disney Star Wars claim to know Star Wars better than George Lucas ended up being making streaming high piles of garbage. Correct. So Polygon. So the 50th anniversary of Star Wars is just around the corner, and Lucasfilm is pulling out all the stops to celebrate the legendary original trilogy that gave birth to the galaxy-changing franchise, galaxy-changing franchise beloved by millions around the globe. I wish I could say I was alive to witness. Let me see. Yeah, alive to witness the opening of the theaters for the first Star Wars premiere in 1977. I was born just a few months after. So I'm sharing my age. Disney's 50th anniversary plans aren't just beholden, keyword beholden, just beholden. This is what, it said about George not being beholden to the EU. Using the same thing. Let me go ahead and make this a little bigger. To putting the original film out on IMAX at your local theater. At Lucasfilm Publishing's San Diego Comic-Con panel this year, the company revealed a long list of upcoming books for fans of all ages and genre preferences. But let's be honest, the emphasis is clearly on the original trilogy. The original trilogy, not just Star Wars, but the original trilogy. I'm not going to play that video. The biggest highlight of the event is undoubtedly an upcoming graphic novel from the siblings Chas Pan Byrne and Kim Shearer, titled Star Wars: A New Hope Triple Take. The novel retells A New Hope from the perspective of its three legendary heroes, Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, and Han Solo. So it's their perspective. So it's like those novels that came out like what were they called again? From a certain point of view. Similar to that. But this time it's their perspective on the events of Star Wars, what was going on, what they were going through. Now, for myself, I have never really likened to wanting to read perspective type novels in a sense. So, like, I Jedi is okay. That's like a third person, I guess you could say. Well, no, first person, sorry. First person. But like a perspective of things, that's not really been my forte for reading things. Although when you read novels, you'll get a person's perspective. That's solely different than having a story told on the perspectives of. If you get what I'm saying. If you get what I'm saying. Too many plot holes in that Swiss cheese. 1977 Motorhead debut album Star Wars released and OG was born. Pretty big year. Yes, it was. Original film. Do they even have access to the original film reel negatives? That's the thing. I've debated about this so many times. Like, the original film reels don't exist anymore. Copies of it do. But copies of which one? There's so many from the different edits that were being done and redone. Even as the movie was coming out, there were certain edits because of certain film studio sizes, how the music played, what have you. There's a whole line of history there. Retells of what? It's already been told. I know. Steady and brave. Let's see here what you have to say. The OT told us what they were going through, though. I know. So this is like retold with Disney crap added. Remember, a novel that had Luke saying he couldn't have done anything without the people from the Rogue Squadron movie? Right. And imagine the prequel novels done by Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin as narrations. That would be quite trippy. So here's everything revealed in Lucasfilm Publishing Comic-Con panel when it's set to be released and why you should have it. So this basically is the cover of it. It's so fucking gay looking. I'm sorry. It's awful. It's like Luke looks so terrible here. Holy shit. It's like three different artists on this panel here. Holy shit. Now Leia looks manga. This looks, Luke looks so horrible. And right here is like a stylized version. I would maybe manga, maybe not. I wouldn't say manga, but yeah, it's more stylized there. All right. Pangburn and Shearer might be newcomers to Star Wars, but the two have experienced a graphic novels following young adults and kids to have adventures with their popular flip book series, double booking, and what bigger adventures than the one they brought Luke, Leia, and Han together. Retelling might sound surface level at first, but given how different Luke, Leia, and Han are from one another, we're excited to see a new perspective on our three heroes and deeper insights into their thoughts in the original film. All right, so I have said this before, and I'll say it again, and I did make a video clip of this. I have a video on here on my channel about this. But when you're retelling a story to a younger audience, you're resetting, you're doing a soft reboot, because when they read this, their perspective will be different than what George intended. And when George owned his company, the authors had to tell according to him. George is not in the picture anymore. Not whatsoever in the picture anymore. So this is a thought. This right here, they're working towards possibly a remake of these movies. Now, a lot of people have said this before, and you guys said it here before too. It's inevitable. So, Studying It Brave says, remember when Japan made gorgeous cover art for the old EU novels and were absolutely beautiful? I miss those days when Lucasfilm gave a damn. Yep. And Derek says, I had Star Wars colored books that looked way more artistic than this piece of shit. All right. And let's see here. Who drew that? Right. Let's go ahead and take another look. Oh my God. They're always doing Luke and Injustice. Look at that. Oh God. That is fucking crazy. That is shit right there. I've seen young children draw better than whatever the hell that was. Yeah. No shit. Holy crap. Oh, damn. I know. I think out of the 3 pieces here, I like Han's, the stylization for Han. Leia's okay. I'm just not into that. I guess they use that to make her look feminine. I guess. I don't know. Don't know. All right. So let's go ahead and get this off the screen. Stop screen. Well, at least they didn't feminize Luke, I guess. No, it's either or for him. They can't make Luke look like Luke. And I'm not asking for a buff character, like someone like, the early Kenner toys. Was it Kenner or was it then Hasbro? Where they had and I think it was for the Shadows of the Empire series. Remember that? How Luke was all big and buff? Like that even made me laugh. And I did make fun of that because I thought it was funny. I'm like, what the fuck happened to Luke here? When he must have been on some kind of steroids or something. Kenner Jim Bro Star Wars, right? I know. Luke was on some bad testosterone kind of shot there. Oh my God. Power of the Force 2 series, laugh out loud. Yes, 1995. Yes, Bunce-Book. I couldn't remember which one it was, but you knew steroids. You knew exactly what I was talking about. So yeah. All right, let's see here. Now, we're going to get a more deeper insight to some things that were announced, I guess you could say. Not necessarily like live or anything like this, but this is just a sneak preview of what was being shared on Comic-Con. Let me see here. Let's see. Mr. Spaceman, are they planning on waiting for George to drop so they can make biopics that throw shade at George? Maybe some Carrie Fisher drama or some shit? I don't know, but I have no idea. Let's see. Revenge of the Sith toys were so awesome to buy at Toys R Us. Oh, I'm a Toys R Us kid. Yep. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But Book says, of course, I remember I still have some of the figures. One of them is the 1995 EFB Lando with the 6-pack. Oh, yeah. Anyone remember that figure? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And for that, let me go ahead and play this. This warrants this. There we go. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. They're already throwing shade out with the Vice documentary they did a few years ago. Wow. They already tried to tie George to Epstein in the files. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And they had plans to throw him under the bus some way. New clip? Now I've had that. I just hardly play it. I made it. It's a song that I found I thought would be good with Londo for that. So yeah. Nerf gun is a toy I played since I was 14. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, you guys. Because let me clear some tabs here. So since I'm not using some of the tabs. All the reveals from Lucasfilm Publishing's Star Wars at San Diego San Diego Comic-Con panel. So here are the images here. Here's that one here. And then you have like smugglers and scoundrels. So I don't think there's any legends with the name of that, but it sounds very familiar. And of course, indie stuff. And then more of Ambor or Rogue One. And then you have Luke briefly training Leia here in Twin Crossroads. And here is Luke again. Not so bad, but the art looks, I'm not a big fan of that art either. And so on. And then you have a Boba Fett here, which, I'm sorry, he's not interesting anymore. I wouldn't say anymore. He's interesting in the true lore, George Lucas era Star Wars, but what Disney did to him and of him, he's not interesting anymore. He's not interesting. And of course, and for those people who said, oh, they're going to get rid of the Disney trilogy, well, it doesn't look like they are because they have Kylo here. So they have that story coming out as well. So anyways, let's check this out, you guys. Some of the greatest Star Wars, so Disney Star Wars stories of all time have come in the form of novels and comics. So I said Disney. Well, you would say that this would be quote unquote legends. Making any announcements for our reveals of upcoming literary projects highly anticipated among fans of the galaxy far, far away. Today, Disney Lucasfilm Publishing hosted a panel at San Diego Comic-Con in which authors provided behind-the-scene insights, stories across multiple eras and frontiers were discussed. And a bunch of amazing announcements teased an exciting future for Star Wars books and comics. So this was all about basically their expanded universe. Keep reading. So right here. So of course, going briefly through this, just giving you guys an idea where they're going with their lore. Star Wars Twin Crossroads. This is basically about the brief training Luke has given Leia before she dropped out of training. And then you have Star Wars: A Celebration. Now, this one right here, Lucasfilm is going all out next year to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. As part of its celebration, a new book from DK Publishing will provide fans with the essential history guide to the galaxy far, far away. So this is 50 years in a galaxy far, far away. Now, I'm interested in looking into this book more. Now, I'm hoping that I can find it on my Barnes & Noble's bookshelf once it comes out so I can sit down and take it over there where they have the coffee shop, like a Starbucks or something like that, and get a coffee, sit down, and look through. Because I'm very interesting. Yes, I am very interesting. But I'm very interested in 50 years, what they have to say about 50 years of in a galaxy far, far away. Because that includes everything, all the media in Star Wars. So the publisher summary of Star Wars Celebration is following. Unlock 50 years of the Star Wars secrets, myths, and stories with this unparalleled guide to a cultural icon, featuring exclusive new interviews with the creators and talents who brought a galaxy far, far away to life, alongside beautiful behind-the-scenes photography and concept art. So who do you think that this is going to include? Do you think it's going to be any of the authors from the EU? Or do you think it's going to be just a selective few, like maybe Timothy Zahn. Or do you think it's just going to be Dave Filoni and the crew from TCW? And then from there, are you going to trust anything that's said behind it? Hey there, Dennis. How are you doing? What do you think? So that's why I'm curious. I'm curious to see, because my experience with Star Wars or Lucasfilm under Disney, it's always been revisionist history here. And of course, the Indiana Jones ones here, if you guys are interested in seeing where they're taking that, feel free to look up that. Star Wars Tales from the Outer Rim, Volume 1, Legend of Beggar's Canyon. So basically, are they going to retell the story about them racing in Beggar's Canyon? Or is it going to be something different? So let's see here. Mad Cave Studio author Greg Pak masterminded a new graphic novel about Luke Skywalker's childhood on Tatooine. The publisher summary for Star Wars Tales from the Outer Rim Volume 1 and Legends Beggar's Canyon is as follows. Like most kids his age, Luke Skywalker longs for adventure, but growing up on the distant desert planet of Tatooine, he feels more than a little stuck. And with Luke's best friend, Biggs Darklighter, already daydreaming about leaving to enroll in the Imperial Academy, Luke feels like he's sinking into a sarlacc pit. Okay, so there's that. And here's a little bit of the art here. And then you have Star Wars Smugglers and Scoundrels. Oh, God. Oh, they got Jax. Look at that. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? When shields spew their propaganda, I say that's very moving, except for one small problem. It never happened. Ooh, good one. Good one, Mike. The book is going to be full of lies and make Lucas look bad. That's why I want to look into it. That rabbit, no. So there's Jackson. How do you guys feel about seeing him there? So let's see here. Let's look here. No, you don't know who Jackson is? You don't know who the Jackson? He's from the early comics that were coming out when Star Wars came out. It looks like the rabbit from the Trick cereal. Correct. Yeah. So there you go. So if you guys know, let me see here. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Let's see here. I'll show you who it is. And yes, he's already in Disney lore, obviously. Okay. So those who don't know, you're going to know. You're going to know. Let's see here. And I'm using Wookiee. Yes, I'm using Wookiee. I just wanted to get the quick picture on here. But I wanted to show you. The reason why I'm using Wookiee is I'm showing you that he's both in both Disney lore and the original lore. So here's Jackson right here. That's him. And he's both here is what they call Legends and in what they call Disney canon. So he's in both. And here he is. Although I think that is his, I could be wrong. I think that this is one of his early Marvel images. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you guys, let you guys know that he is a part of Disney lore already. All right, but he's from the early Marvel comics. Let's see here. Where am I going to? What do I need? Here we go. So Jackson. Let's see here. And so here's some of the art without the coloring. I don't know if it's going to be like that in their comics. And then you have, so we're getting into the terror part. So where do you think, what does this remind you of? Star Wars Galactic Tales of Terror. What does this remind you of? So that's another thing. Let me see what you're saying in the chat. Mm-hmm. It's cannon fodder. It's cannon fodder. Yeah. Let's see here. Let me close this. All right. And then, of course, here's this. Not too bad. The coloring, all of this, not too bad at all. Okay. That looks weird. All right. And, oh, there's Mace, and his lightsaber looks more red than purple here, the way it's colored there. But that's just what I'm seeing. All right. And here's what we already talked about. And it's not the same thing they say here, because this is a retelling, and people are taking it as a remake. But like I said, it's like a vision of series. They're retell so that perspectives of the younger generations will see Star Wars in how they want them to see Star Wars, not how George planned and evolved the franchise under his vision. So this is, again, the heart is gone. That's George Lucas. So now it's being told how Disney wants it to be told. And that's no George, no heart of it. And then, of course, you have the icons, the Vader, because why not? Why not? So Disney has already just cucked Vader so much. Either he's a big, huge loser, or he's this huge, extreme beast or whatever, and there's nothing in between or whatever. So, and then the Book of Boba Fett, you have more of that going on, which is nothing. There's nothing interesting about him whatsoever. It looks like it's almost a retelling of the Book of Boba Fett, but in comic form, which I'm not interested. And those who've watched it on stream or whatever, and to talk about it, to tell about it, man, I know. Let's see here. Laugh my ad off. Disney treats shills that have severe autism. Oh my goodness. Okay. So that's just a retelling of the Book of Boba Fett in comic form, I guess. So there you go. And then you have the fall of Kylo Ren. So there you go. So nothing's being rebooted from the lore. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here when it comes to the Disney trilogy. And the reason, one of the main reasons why they changed, or they switched up the era. So the timeline of Galaxy's Edge at Disney parks, basically Disney World and Disneyland, is because of the anniversary coming up, the 50th anniversary. But it's still linked some way, somehow, to the Disney trilogy as lore that was created around it and for it. It's still being used. So they're still on Batuu. Is it called Batuu there, or whatever the name of that place the Galaxy Edge is in? It's still in that, but it's just prior to Kylo Ren and Rey and all that other stuff. But the Civil War, OG, the Civil War. I know. Damn, the Civil War. Dennis says, I don't like that he needed training for hand-to-hand combat in the sand from the Sand People. Came off really stupid. That right there, let me see here. So everything that had to deal with the Sand People was really fucking stupid. How they treated the Sand People to be like, oh, just like Native Americans or whatever. Fucking stupid. How they made it sound like they were going to adapt the Tuscan culture of like their way of adopting people into their tribes, into their society, basically. Very opposite from Mandalorian culture, where you're tortured, and if you survive that, there's a possibility that you can be acclimated into the Tuscan culture, but you would have to wrap up, you would have to do all the stuff, and so, but Mandalorian culture, even though you had the armor, you didn't have to wear it all the damn time and stuff. That was something that was very different from that. So Tuscan culture, they just really made what was intriguing and very different for a group of species or race of people, not saying human race, but they're just a species or whatever, made them very unique, made them terrifying. Now they're not. Boba Fett, someone who had this, I guess you could say, I'm going to go their gray morality, if you want to kind of put it in that language, now is a good guy in a way. I don't know. Weird. And he was always for himself. He was always for himself. All of a sudden, he's going to take over Jabba's thing and he's going to be doing good deeds instead of bad. Fuck that shit. But the Sand People are that one. What was Mandalorian culture like in pre-Disney era? They came from the Tong. Tong was one of the original people from Coruscant before it became a huge citywide planet. And when they left, they found the planet they named Mandalore. And through that, the language still stayed the same after, they started dying off, but they would adopt people in and train them in the Mandalorian culture. And the armor was made and used. And I'm telling a brief, quick tell of that because there's just so much to read behind that. It's so fucking interesting. And but after the Tong started dying off, the culture still lived on. And it wasn't just a group of or a certain species like the Tong. And they were basically a super commando type warrior society. And by the time we get to Boba Fett, he became Mandalore, which is what we would call the ruler, but they weren't really a ruler. He would just unite people to defend the Mandalorians and stuff. So very, very, very interesting. I'm giving you just like a glimpse, it's a huge iceberg, and I'm just giving you the very top view of the iceberg. That's it. So, yeah. So it's very, very interesting culture, and that's why Jango was brought in for the cloning and stuff. Not only for his attributes, but also for the culture he was raised in and stuff. So very interesting and very anti-Jedi. Disney needs to sell Star Wars now before Shills shoots up a school. Oh my god! Wow. All right. In Disney's Mandalorian lore, the Darksaber acts as their crown. I guess, yeah, it's weird. Because even when that was introduced in TCW, that was never used anywhere else in the lore whatsoever. Boba Fett's supposed to be the mercenary one of the dangerous in the universe to use him to clone the other troopers. Why would he need combat training? Boba should already have these skills way before, correct? He runs into Sand People. Yeah. I think we're all aware, like even if we didn't watch, just like looking into the history of the Book of Boba Fett and reading the synopsises and stuff like that, you can get an idea. They got rid of J.W. Rinsler and his blog that spilled everything. Oh, I remember that. And I was trying to access the blog. I was too late on that. It was taken down, all of that. I wished I could have seen it all. So thank you so much, Soul Assassin Mandalorian lore from the Mandalore. So go ahead and check that out. And Darth Ghostface is here. What's up? How are you? Good. How are you doing? And let's see here. If we knew Boba Fett, he would absolutely massacre the entire Tusken Raider tribes to save himself. Correct. Yeah. But now he needs to be relatable. So, like I said, in Prop Tomb stream, I want to ask you a question. When did you come to terms with knowing that Disney was going to change and overhaul the Star Wars lore? When did you finally come to terms with that? That's my question for you. I would love to hear from you guys in the chat. When did you come to terms with the fact that Disney wants to tell their own version of Star Wars, and that this will also change? This will also change George Lucas's stories, the big movies, the foundation. Because, like I said before, I've said this many, many times before, the 6 movies are the foundation, right? And even before Disney, they that was like the immovable part of Star Wars. They were the foundation. Everything was built upon, right? So the foundation, it has been cracked a long time ago. So assassin. Now, when did you realize that they were rebooting the entire franchise? I don't need a specific time or anything like that. Was it when they tossed out the EU? Was it when they decided not to use George treatment? Was it after you got done seeing the development and the Disney trilogy, aka the sequel trilogy, come out? Was it when you seen your favorite character like Han Solo in his own single solo movie, pun intended, get bastardized? Was it when you seen the change of Luke Skywalker or how they treated Leia? When did you realize? Were you one of them people that had some hope at one point that they were going to change directions? Did you have any hope holding out? Do you still have hope holding out? You guys already know my opinion on that. I don't have to say it. Let's see what you're saying. We knew they were going to reboot the franchise since the beginning. Let's see here. Who said I came to terms? Screaming internally. I foolishly gave Disney a chance until The Last Jedi. Then I was done. And that's usually everybody's tale. Everybody's take, or I don't want to say take, realization, because take, no, I would say realization is The Last Jedi. All right. I'm Leia Poppins, y'all. Yes, you are. Hey, no. All right. And speaking of, let's go ahead and listen to this because I always like listening to this.
George Lucas ruined my life. 57 years ago, I did his little Star Wars film. The fact that you made me into a little doll that my first husband could stick pins into, a shampoo bottle where people could twist my head off and pour liquid out of my neck, lather up with Leia and you'll feel like a princess yourself. And yes, the little Pez dispensers. And though amongst your many possessions you have owned my likeness, lo, all these years, so that every time I look in the mirror, I have to send you a check for a couple of bucks. You had the unmitigated gall to let that chick, the new girl who plays my mother, Queen Armadillo, or whatever her name is, she wears a new hairstyle and outfit practically every time she walks through a door. I mean, I bet she even got to wear a bra, even though you told me I couldn't because there was no underwear in space. I hope I slept with you to get the job, because if not, who the hell was that guy?
Oh, may she rest in peace. She wasn't joking here. Yeah. So I'm going to let this go for about an hour. We're coming up on an hour. Shout out to Queen Armadillo. Yeah. Armadillo. Yeah. So I just wanted to come and talk about this on here. Is the revisionist history, are they remaking? Well, it's obviously, it's inevitable that it will be, whether they leave the movies alone or not. Are they remaking now? It's basically up to your perspective and how you see and look at the lore and what you have looked into and putting or discerning and putting everything together, all these clues together, right? But the movies is what I'm talking about now. Because anything they tell around the movies is basically going to be their own vision of what they want to tell. But the movies. Do you think there's anything in the contract about leaving the movies alone? And Disney going off and saying okay and honoring that clause in the contract? Mind you, we don't know what they think, what was said or what's in the contract themselves, right? But when you get a chance to look into Bob Iger's biography, the section or the chapter called Star Wars, he makes it very clear that when buying Star Wars, how could they have George in there as a consultant with George, giving George the impression that he can tell them what they need to do and where they can take Star Wars according to him when it's no longer his property. Yep, that's in the book. Iger's like saying in the book that it would be a poor business plan if they allowed the previous owner to come in and tell them what they should do and should not do with what now the property they own. So when people throw out and say, oh, well, George was there for about another year prior to the buyout and he was consulting and he was doing this and that and the other, that's a lie. Yeah, he was there. But Iger made it very clear to George that he really didn't have say. That Disney, the owner of Lucasfilm, has ultimate say. That wouldn't be good business practice if they did that. It's a very interesting read if you guys ever want to get into it, just to get further knowledge into everything that has occurred during, before, or as like before, during, and after the buyout. So when the proposal happened, like Bob thinking about buying, planting the seed, and he has planted the seed about a year and a half before the buyout. So, and then he was basically romancing George into it, and they had to stop negotiations because at one point, Lucasfilm was never a public trade company. So they had to get permission by George for their CPAs to go in there and take a look at all the records of worth that Lucasfilm and its companies had. They had to look their worth. Public trading entities, you don't have to do that, but private entities like what George created, yes, you have to get permission, and they couldn't make the deal until they could see their financial records and all the worth. So if it was a public trading, I think that the company would have been sold a lot sooner. So there's that. So that goes back to TCW. Yeah, it was canceled because of the fact that the Cartoon Network is a competitor to Disney. But they didn't, like I said, people said, oh, well, they honored George this and that and the other. No, because they even changed TCW. There you go. So with that, when people say TCW is basically G tier, which it's not. If you go back to the hierarchy of record keeping within the company prior to Disney, it was its own tier. But people put it on a pedestal because of George. Oh, it's George's idea, and he did this, that, and the other, and he never really did that with the EU, and all this anti-EU rhetoric. Well, if that's the case and they're honoring George Lucas, then why did they change? Why did Filoni change everything that was already written and ready to go? If that's the case. So see where I'm getting with this? See where this is going? So when will be that time we see the changing of the movies, the remake? Will it be my time? Will I be gone by the time that comes out? Maybe. Will I witness it? Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Christopher says, I personally put in the in tier. Yeah, non-canon tier. TCW is S tier, AK shit tier. There you go. And then question, what do you think about the OG fans who die on the hill that there are only 3 Star Wars movies, or the ones who say there's only one from? They're full of shit. That's what I think. Because how can you be a fan? I don't like TCW. I know it exists. And I'm not saying it is or it is not canon. You know, that's their own headcanon. Sure. They can have their own headcanon. Is it not? All right. TCW wasn't needed at the time. The Clone Wars multimedia project already covered the Clone Wars pretty extensively. Yes, correct. And so did and this is why Tartakovsky was a master, and why George Lucas wanted Tartakovsky to head the animation portion of Lucasfilm, is because of his brilliance. But that didn't happen. Here we have TCW. All right, you guys. There's only 6 Star Wars movies. Let's see here. All right. So this discussion here. Now that crazy ass little I wouldn't say it's a comic, but that novella that has the crazy ass looking Luke on there. So fucking crazy. Hi, William. How are you doing? Is that a remake? No, not in general. It's a remake, but it's adding to the reboot. It is adding to the revisionist history. And I've had a couple people misunderstood what I said on my Twitter account, which, to who they are, doesn't surprise the hell out of me. So it is what it is. Not saying that there is a remake, but that's coming. That's coming. Now, you could say there's a soft reboot going on right now. What I'm talking about, a remake towards the movies, like the movies themselves, not the media that they're bringing in. I'm talking about a remake of the movies themselves. And that's where they misunderstood, which is kind of funny. But they're the kind of people that get triggered about anything I say. I could say the water is dark blue because it's a cloudy day and there's no sun shining on it, so you can't really see within it because the water reflects the light and things that are above them. And they could say I'm lying, and where's my source? Oh my God. That's funny how there's no Rey news. No, but there is Kylo. So I mean, it is what it is. Rey is the new foundation of Star Wars. Let's see here. The Fate of the Jedi Crucible. Where's that from? Oh, it's from up here. Continuation. Okay. I just put TCW in discounted completely. I say if they were to continue the EU stories, they should just rewrite the Mortis crap into a novel or something, so they can keep it connected to. Yeah, and then I see where you're going with that. Yeah, whoop, wrong one. Okay, the Jedi and Crucible. Yeah. OG derangement syndrome is both hilarious and disturbing bunch of brain lollipops. Lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, lollipop, lollipop. There we go. All right, you guys, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you guys for hanging out in this impromptu live, I guess you could say. And it's not Cantina nights. Of course, it's not Cat Chat either. It is 9:40 my time. And I should invite some of the Gatekeepers Alliance guys on here with me just to talk a little bit more. I'm going to have to start doing a panel night, maybe every other Saturday. I'll have guests on. It's been a while since I've had guests on here, and I would love to just talk with them and you guys, not at the same time, but you know what I mean, as we go live. That would be fun. So stay tuned for that. And of course, announcement here, if you guys weren't here for Cap Chat, next Thursday, there's no Cap Chat Thursday because I will be getting ready to travel home. But Friday night at 6 p.m., there will be Cantina night. So stay tuned for that. I'll make the stream and get it going. And while I'm gone, I'll take the opportunity to find time to prep and take care of that on my end. And so we'll meet for Cantina nights instead, Friday night at 6 p.m. So I'm excited to hang out with you guys in the evening time. And this time you can bring all your favorite liquor and hard drinks or whatever, your Corellian whiskey, whatever you want to bring. And we'll hang out during that time. All right, guys. So have a good night and may the force be with you. And I shall talk to you guys later. Let's see here. What do I want to play that I was looking at? There's a commercial I want to play. Where is it at? Here we go.
Tauntaun? What is it?
Wampa! Wampa! New Tauntaun, Wampa, and action figures, each sold separately.
Han Solo! Help! Oh no! It's got Luke!
Wampa!
Watch it, Tauntaun! Gotcha!
New Tauntaun comes with an open belly rescue feature.
You'll be okay, Luke, as soon as I chase away that thing.
Wampa! Wampa! New Tauntaun and Hoth Wampa and other action figures, each sold separately from Kenner Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection.
Another happy landing.